If you are a caregiver, or if you think that one day you'll need a caregiver, you want to watch this program. I am so thrilled to have you here, Lori, and you, Bob, representing the Michigan Chamber and representing all things small business. Lori Richard-Jandron, thank you for being with us today. We are talking about a topic that's near and dear to AARP's heart, and that topic is caregiving. And people think of care, they don't even know what a caregiver is, quite frankly. You know, if you help someone once a week, aunt or uncle, if you take them to the grocery store, if you help pay their bills or a doctor's appointment, then you are a caregiver. Even if you're mowing their lawn once a week for them, you're helping someone take care of their activities of daily living. But why is this, and we think of it individually, and I like today to shift that conversation to employers, because when you think about how much time and effort goes into employees taking care of loved ones, what do employers need to know, and what can employers do to help caregivers? Lori, let's start talking about caregivers from an employer perspective.
Thank you, Paul. I am so thrilled to be here today because I all my worlds get to converge on this conversation. As a daughter, as a mother and grandmother, as a small business owner, and as, of course, a state volunteer president for AARP Michigan. So that convergence, you get to take all those worlds and all those experiences and understand the real needs that are out there. And I'm so thrilled to be talking about it and to be planning because, as I have said earlier, when I started with AARP Michigan in this role, the quote that they had in Cranes was, "The worst time to plan is in the middle of a crisis." And I think that applies to so many things in life. My mom passed about a year and a half ago, and it was very sudden. It was, no planning was involved. And I thought I wasn't a caretaker. For 5 days, I took care of my mother while she laid in the hospital unconscious. And so imagine 5 days, 5 months, 5 years of caretaking and the physical, emotional, and financial toll that takes on an individual and a family. It's real, and it's just going to get more real as our population ages, as I personally age as well. And I look at my employees and my business, and while a lot of my staff are on the other side, the other side of the sandwich with daycare issues and having to run out and take care of sick kids, they're starting to get on the other side of the issue where now I've got aging parents and I've got work and I've got other demands, and how do I balance that? Where do I turn to? So we now know where to turn to.
You know, I'd even go back so far to say that you were actually a caregiver before those 5 days, because I know you were visiting frequently, you were checking in all the time, making certain they had what they need. So it actually, the journey starts way before we even recognize we are caregivers, right?
Absolutely.
So Bob, for employers, I mean, you're representing one of the most prestigious, largest chambers around, and so well respected with the Michigan Chamber of Commerce. We love working with them and Jim Holcomb. And what are you all doing about, I mean, you hear from employers, small business, large business employers all the time. What's happening in that world of caregivers?
Sure. Just as a matter of facts, this issue affects women disproportionately, right? Because they tend to be the ones who take on that caregiver role. What we're seeing on the employer side is many times the employer doesn't even know that their employees are offering caregiving, or that it creates a stress on them at home, which then ultimately affects their work and potentially absenteeism. So when we're talking with employers who are dealing with this issue, we try and help them understand that they need to communicate about what the benefits are that are available to employees, what resources they could take advantage of to support their employees, because we know that employees who are able to manage through this caregiver scenario and have the support of their employer are more likely to stay, to be more productive, and to offer more back to their employer. Certainly if they're not feeling supported, or if they're feeling alone in this, then that affects their work, and that ultimately affects the success of that business. So.
Absolutely, and it does go across every spectrum, whether you're young, because we have a lot of young people, as you know, that we're working with and talking to, that are taking care of grandparents, aunts, uncles, that sandwich generation, but all of it impacts, and this is not a financial issue only, but it impacts productivity in the workplace. You talked about with a small business that you're employees are taking time off. And I think there was a study done by the Kellogg Foundation a couple of years ago that talked somewhere around $7,200 is the amount lost with these people taking off to take someone to a doctor's appointment or to, to get their prescription drugs or to do something for. So that's real money when you multiply that times X number of employees in
And
the
that's probably
workplace.
underreported.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly right. Those are just the ones that we know about. You're,
Right.
you're absolutely correct. So what advice what would you share with someone? I mean, besides telling the story, and it's so powerful, we've learned from people, speak up, share your story, because so many people are going through the same thing, but they just, I don't want to say suffer, but they go through it in silence. I remember talking to folks in the Asian community, they didn't even know the term caregiver. It didn't resonate with them. It's my mom. It's my dad. It's what we do, So what would you tell someone who is taking care? What kind of resources, advice would you give to them? What do they need to know?
Well, I am thrilled to be working with our partners in business. AARP Michigan is going to release a caregiver resource guide, and this is the conversation. We're doing we do it with mental. We're starting to do it better with mental health. Now we're going to start doing it really well, and for the caretaker, for the families, for the friends that are taking care, and it's going to be a one-stop. I'm so thrilled about it because sometimes we feel like we're wringing our hands. Here's the problem. Here's part of the solution. Let's talk about it first. This show is going to be a great format for that, to share this website and information from everything on just tips for your own. You can't be good for others unless
Right.
you're good for yourself. Tips for taking care of yourself so that you can care for others. Resources, real phone numbers with real people that you can call.
That's funny. They were saying real phone numbers, real people.
It's not the Amazons of the world, or you
Right.
can, no disparaging Amazon,
Right.
but you can
Right.
talk, and there's going to be a one-click, one-stop that anyone can navigate it. And we're going to partner with our Michigan Chamber, hopefully Small Business Association, Michigan, MEDC, all those out there involved in the employers setting, that they have these available and they can easily share and be that first step. They can put it in their employee handbook. They can talk about it at team meetings. That's what makes me happy. We're starting the conversation that probably needed to start a long time ago, but this is a generator. We're talkers, right? So we're going to talk about stuff that's sometimes not easy to talk about, and people are going to know they're not alone. And that is a big lift off their mental strain.
Absolutely.
Is that I come to work and they didn't know I was just up all night trying to take care of my aging father. And meanwhile, I got to get the kids off to school, and I'm spent by the time I get to the workplace. Well, here we have a nurturing environment. We have resources. I'm going to give you a break. I understand where you're coming from.
You said something that's just so, we hear over and over again, it's so important. Everything you say is important, Lori, but about navigating through the system. I remember talking to a young woman, a woman who was elderly, and she was like 95 pounds. And she just wanted help. She's taking care of her husband at home, not complaining, but she just needed help turning him. Because she couldn't turn her 200-pound husband. And she didn't want him to go into institution. She just needed help turning him. And just where do you go to find that? You don't look in there aren't any yellow pages. You don't Google, you don't,
Right.
Where do you go to get that help? So one-stop shop for caregivers. I mean, that in itself, we hear it from young people, we hear it from older adults, we hear it from AARP people who have done this work forever, just not knowing where to go to get the help in their community. What kind of resources are available at the Chamber for the small businesses? Is there some place that they can go, or some information you share with them about caregivers, other than what you're going to be receiving from Love?
I was going to say, it's great to know that AARP has that kind of a resource that's available, because there is not really a one-stop shop. And even when we talk about this type of issue with employers, we're talking about independent contractors all the way up to larger corporations who have a lot of resources. And so those resources may be very different depending on the size of your business and what you're able to afford your employees. So we usually send folks to resources like AARP or to state government in order to find some of those things. But working through your chamber or your state association can also help you find other businesses and how they're handling it similar to you. So
absolutely.
whether that's offering an employee assistance program or flexible hours or just having a support group for other caregivers so they can cry on each other's shoulder, there's lots of different resources that are available to help solve
Absolutely.
that problem for them.
And that is so important. And thank you for even just mentioning the ones that you mentioned. People don't even know that they exist. And every employer or everyone who's connected to an employer needs to pay attention to their employees and what's happening, and just talking about it. Just saying, what can we do?
Remove the stigma.
How can exactly remove the stigma? How can we support you? What can we do to be supportive? And even with dementia, you hear a lot more about dementia, Alzheimer's. That even has more of a stigma attached to it, and people don't know where to go. So those workplace environments that allow people to have the flexibility. And what do you do for your employees?
I was flexible. I should have
gonna work for
mentioned this.
you.
I'm so flexible. Too tall, but we're a small enough team. I have just over a dozen employees, but I have a 24 open door policy. We take wellness breaks. We did flexible work schedules long before, but I have the luxury, unlike a manufacturer or somebody
Right.
where they need the people right in
Right.
the house. I tell my people, you can literally do your job on the moon. I mean, there might be a time delay or something, but if they need that downtime and the comfort of working from home and not having the social interactions, I find I go 3 generations deep in my office. They like to come together and they share those stories. So it's having that balance, but most of all being kind and caring, and then having a good resource for them to turn to should they need to. But we talk about it. We have a unusually transparent. Our conversations are pretty real, and there are tears sometimes involved, and there are hugs, and that's me. That's our culture, and creating a culture. I think it goes with inclusivity. What you're dealing with is unique to you, and you bring those diverse experience, and we're going to include you. Hey, we're not going to get mad because we think so-and-so's had taken too many days off to care for their aunt who may be fallen ill.
Right.
We're going to support them. How can we come together and lift you up?
And there's research that shows when you have that kind of environment that people actually, the productivity increases because others understand why otherwise folks are masking why they're gone.
Or
saying,
distracted
exactly.
or not focused on the work at hand. Yeah.
Exactly. So that peer, I would say pressure, but the colleagues and the peers help to lift each other up. And one day it might be me, the next day it might be you. Because as Rosalind Carter said, you're going to need one or you're going to be one at some point in time in your life. One of the things I love about AARP is they actually give you 2 weeks for just caregiving. You can take an hour, you can take 2 hours, take whatever time you need, and you can have extended time if you need it. But we need to have more of those kinds of activities, like you said, flex time in the workplace and some other things that we can do just to help support our caregivers. So that resource guide, and thank you for championing that for us. We appreciate you championing that for us. Hopefully that'll help so many people, and you'll see the website on the screen here. But just that one click. One of the other things that we're looking at is the amount of this 1.7 million caregivers, unpaid, because there are caregivers who work for agencies, who get paid. Then there are unpaid family caregivers, 1.7 million of them, and the out-of-pocket expense that they have to go through. So a little bit of a tax credit that we're also championing or trying to advocate for over in the state capitol to help caregivers. Just something, we do it for businesses. Let's do it for caregivers. It's amazing to me, and I don't have the exact numbers at the top of my head, but it's like $56 billion that unpaid family caregivers contribute in terms of what they give to this economy. And for every person that we send to an institution, we could keep 2 people at home for the same dollar. Stop and think about that.
Yeah.
And when you poll people, I'll ask you, as you get older, if you need some help, would you prefer to be at home or in an institution?
At home all day long. I need my puppy dogs.
Yes. 89%, that was the lowest, but 89 to 90% of people want to age in place and want to age at home. And just a little extra help from the state or from someone else, they can do that and save the state billions of dollars by doing that. And so to me, it's like a no-brainer, but you got to get the right audience and have people sit down and actually listen. But caregiving is one of those topics that transcends politics.
Yes, absolutely.
We've got stories from everybody, and it's a topic that's near and dear to all of our hearts. young people who are taking care, we talked about planning earlier, and people not having a plan, and you know all about financial planning and planning for retirement, and talk to us, what do they need? People aren't planning for long-term care.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily planning for that. What advice would you give to folks listening?
Well, I just say it's never too early to start, and it's never too late to do it. Again, in the middle of a crisis or a family situation is the worst time because you're so emotionally distracted. So I found that, just start it. And even though it may not be something that you're happy on, it's not like planning for a vacation, but it's planning for the best part of your life and looking out and seeing what kind of life it is I want. And I have a daughter in her 20s, and I'd rather not put money into a retirement or that. I said, just a little bit now, just grows and grows. And she started doing it, and she realized, wow, that's great. And this generation that the Gen X and younger, is it going to be Social Security going to be here? Hey, I always plan for the worst, and the worst usually doesn't happen.
Right.
But if it does, you've got that, you have
got
some
that cushion.
security, and it does something to your mental health too and your well-being. I've got a plan, and we can't plan everything, there are higher beings than us that have a plan for us.
That laughs at our plans.
Yeah, laughs at it. But, set aside a little, think about it, start learning about it before you need to. And that's why I love AARP Michigan. It's just not for older adults. We're bringing in the younger, that young talent.
Right.
TLC, that TLC group. I loved hanging out with them recently, and they're learning and they're telling their peers, "Hey, did you know about this, and this? And let's start and plan together." And it becomes part of living then.
Absolutely.
So plan early. A little bit now means so much down the road, and ask questions. And there's no better resource. And this is not a shameless plug, but AARP Michigan has so many resources for anything, even for brain health. Play some games on their website. Learn about, what does Social Security when I have to go on Medicare? What does that look like?
Right. And what is Social Security, and is it going to be there for me? And if it's only funded at 80% by the time I retire in 2034, then what does that mean for my financial stability and the quality of life? I'm going to ask you a trick question, okay? I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you think is the fastest growing age in the country, the age group? Or do you know the answer to that?
Probably in their 40s.
Actually, the fastest growing are people who are 85 years and older.
Really?
85 years and older.
We have a lot of them.
That's great news. That's great news. Yeah, that's why you should listen every week. Because, 85 is your
That
long
creates
life.
some of that issue, though, right?
Exactly
Because
right.
we have so many people that require that care, and there's not enough of the younger generations to take care of them. And so
Exactly.
we do really need to Lori's point, have a plan. And that's where employers can offer tremendous benefit to their employees by helping them understand early what retirement looks like or what post-work life looks like. How do they put those resources together? And then also, how do they have a plan to take care of themselves and their family members as they get older? So I think businesses have a huge role to play in just helping that ecosystem survive.
And we've got about a minute and a half left, but I just want you to very briefly, as you talk about that financial planning piece, I think Michigan Chamber is one of the first ones to offer like a work and save, or to provide that for employers, which allows people to save money, or they can opt out. But talk a little bit about that if you can.
Sure. So, there are lots of changes that are happening now to 401k and retirement plans. And so the more that employers can encourage or require their employees to save for that retirement, the ease of that burden will be less in the future.
And I've heard all across this great state and heard people say, well, I can't save $10 a week. That's my lunch money for my child or whatever. But when you start, if employers take it out and save it, and then I have to go back in and say, no, don't take it. People don't do that. They just go ahead. They don't opt out if it's already something that
Probably
they
don't
do.
realize they're saving tax dollars that way too. It's
Exactly.
tax deferred, so.
Exactly. So that savings and having a plan, and like you said, you've actually taken care of your granddaughter. You've had your daughters. So that sandwich generation. What's your greatest wish for your granddaughter in terms of longevity? Her 85 years old.
Oh,
you hope
85.
that she will have had.
Well, I well into the hundreds and beyond. She is a dynamo, and I hope it's a kinder world. I hope the lessons we're teaching her now about planning and about like saving even in her little piggy bank, and then having her take it to the bank at 5 years old.
Nice.
Is teaching her those skills. They used to not teach how to write a check in school. Now how to, and people don't write checks anymore, but at least a little bit about finances.
Right.
So she's gonna rule the world one day. But so just that she has the wisdom to know she's going to live a long, healthy life and to have the means to enjoy it.
I love that, and hopefully when she's 85, she's still calling me Auntie Paula. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate both of you and what you do each and every day. Thank you.
Thanks, Paula.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rachel Wheelock, and I'm a PA here at Great Lakes Center of Rheumatology. I'm here today to talk to you about osteoporosis and osteopenia. Osteopenia is the precursor to osteoporosis, and osteoporosis is a disease of the bones where we start to lose our bone density and our bones can become brittle. This is important to screen for as it can lead to fragility fractures, which are debilitating and can be very life-altering, increasing medical costs and affecting your daily activities. Men and women should be screened for osteoporosis. We typically start in women after going through menopause, or in people who have had a hysterectomy and are unsure if they went through menopause around the age of 65. In men, we start screening after the age of 70. We also can screen women prior to menopause if there are multiple risk factors that could affect bone health. This is important to screen for as we do have treatment options that can prevent fragility fractures. A fragility fracture is any big bone that is broken after a fall from standing height with very low trauma or low impact. Multiple treatment options are available, including natural things as well as medical therapies, which can be discussed with either a rheumatologist like myself, your primary care doctor, or an endocrinologist. Some risk factors for osteoporosis include having an autoimmune disease like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, or psoriatic arthritis, having an excessive history of caffeine intake, a prolonged history of smoking, and also alcohol abuse can also lead to poor bone health. If you've had any of these risk factors, you should talk to your primary care doctor about having a bone density, or your rheumatologist if you've already seen one.
CATA's regional mobility solutions can help seniors seize the day. Hear what our riders and community leaders have to say about the value CATA brings to the lives of aging adults.
My name is Richard Foster. I went to junior college, graduated with a degree in writing and photography. When I graduated from Eastern Michigan, I moved up to Lansing. Then my car died and I started using the bus, and I've been using the bus for a little bit more than 20 years. CATA is extremely valuable because it allows me to get around anywhere in the city, and now with some of the extended services, I'm able to go farther out of town. The money I save with the Veterans Pass allows me to go to movies, go out to dinner. I use CATA for everything pretty much. Shopping, going to the doctor, going to the library, anything that I don't feel like walking towards. Between where I live, there's 2 stops, one to the west and one to the east. And it's nice when I get up in the morning and have to go somewhere, I can either catch a bus going out, or if I have to do something downtown, I go across the street and catch the Route 8 when it's going in. Well, I've gotten to know all of the drivers. I know a lot of my first name. It's nice when I can hop on the bus, say hello, they know my face. It's like hi, and I make jokes with them, carrying on conversation. I think CATA is necessary for the community because, there's a lot of people that don't have transportation. Plus, it's good for the environment. I think CATA's doing a good job.
Elder law, long-term care. David, tell us in your 33 years of experience what we need to know about long-term care and or elder law.
Yeah, so Paula, the key is elder law is not just about when you get old. It's focused on what happens as we age. And the sad reality of it, the joyous reality of it, The simple reality of it is most of us will need long-term care. Federal government says 70% will need 3 years, 20% will need 5 years. Okay, so it's a real thing. Everybody wants to avoid probate, save taxes, get it to the kids. Well, that doesn't happen if you've gone broke doing long-term care. And that's exactly what elder law is focused on. How do we make sure that you get back some, not all, but some of what you paid in? And elder law is designed to structure your legal life in such a way that you don't go broke in real life, okay?
So at what age should you start thinking about long-term care and or elder law?
I would say when you're a teenager, but that's my opinion. For most people,
I would agree with you.
For most people, 60 is seems to be the right age. We have people in their 50s. And
So I have a little time.
yeah, you have a little, that's right. Well, but you know, I've got folks in their 80s who they're like, oh, I don't want to rush this. I'm like, what? You're not rushing anything, you know.
So the number one thing people need to do is contact an elder law attorney and ask the right questions. Thank you, David, for being with us. We appreciate all that you're doing. And again, visit the website if they want more information, correct?
Right. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you. We talk a lot about direct care workers and making certain that people get into the workforce, but there's an economic impact that's attached to direct care workers for businesses, for individuals, for families. Dr. Lutz, thank you so much for being with us today to talk about that.
Thanks for this opportunity. And thank you for raising that point, because it's not just about this shortage of direct care workers affecting the people receiving services or the families that love them. This issue has a huge impact on all of us, every one of us, individually and collectively. It affects our economy. It affects our many businesses. We have direct care worker or agencies trying to help people, home health care agencies, for example, that are shutting down, that are shuttering their doors and turning people away because they don't have enough direct care workers. Even the private sector is losing productivity because many of their staff are family caregivers who need help, right, and have to adjust their schedules and even leave work because they can't juggle both roles. So it's really important to all of us, and we have to pull together. We have to work with the legislators. It's important to have some policy reforms that will really support making sure that direct care workers have economic security and respect.
And that's so critical. People need to get involved. Either you are a caregiver, or you're going to be a caregiver, or you're going to need a caregiver.
Absolutely.
And it impacts the economy, everything. So how do people get involved?
People can get involved in many different ways. First of all, learn about direct care workers, who they are, what they do, why there's a shortage. You can contact MSU Impart Alliance, go to our website. We have a lot of information there. You can learn about the statewide activities that are happening. There's so much happening. Join our coalition.
Yeah, there you go.
And get involved.
Thank you so much for being with us today. Appreciate all that you do.
Thank you for the chance.
I just love this program, and I love you for watching AARP Real Possibilities. See you next week. Earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, and wildfires are all events you can't control, but you can be prepared for emergencies like these before they happen. Learn how you can be ready if a disaster strikes by visiting the link on your screen.